Hi guys, good evening and welcome to this evening's episode of Everything Woman. I'm your host Kandace Bharath-Nahous and we are coming to you live only on Biz TV. Now for those of you who may be new to Everything Woman, I just want to give you a little rundown as to what to expect. So Everything Woman is the show where we openly, honestly discuss everything that affects us as women and, by extension, society at large. We are going to be talking about difficult topics such as divorce, sexual assault, domestic violence. We're going to have informative topics such as medical issues affecting women. And we're going to sit down with some people that you may or may not know, women, strong women, personalities, and engage in something called emotional storytelling. And all of that is geared towards empowering, inspiring, and educating women and ensuring that as women, you don't feel isolated and you know that whatever you're going through, you're not alone. So this evening, following through with the concept of emotional storytelling, we are going to be joined by Danielle Parkinson. You may know her as DJ Dani from the Morning Reset. She is basically DJ Val's handler, and she keeps him in check. But she's also an incredibly profound woman, and she has a story to share that you don't want to miss. So stay tuned, and when we come back, we'll be joined by DJ Dani. Hi guys, and we're back. I'm not sure if you managed to catch the intro, but I'm your host Kandace Bharath-Nahous and welcome to Everything Woman, coming to you live only on Biz TV. So we're sitting here with the incredibly vibesy but seriously profound Danielle Parkinson, DJ Dani. Hi Dani, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Hi Kandace, hi evening everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I mean, your first show back on your new season, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And you know, Dani, when I was thinking about who I wanted to be my first guest, obviously it's huge, right? This is the premiere, this sets the tone for Everything Woman and lets everybody know what to expect of Everything Woman. I listened to you and Val every single morning, probably for the last, how long you've been on air?
10 years this year.
Right.
Yeah, 10 years.
So you guys are part of my morning routine. And I would have realized in the last couple of years that the things that you've been sharing and the little things that you say, that you are on a journey. And we will get into that in a little bit, but I thought that you were absolutely perfect to start this off because you are not only fun, energetic, and beautiful.
Thank you.
You also have a positive message, and you have a message that so many women need to hear. So you're a radio announcer.
I am.
So DJ Dani that name is a little bit misleading, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm Danielle, but I mean, every variations of the Danielle, right?
But you're not a DJ.
I am not a DJ. I'm a radio personality. I love music. That name came from me just liming back in the day, you know, playing in all my friends' limes and my house limes down the islands. Okay. And then meeting radio personalities and always be like, you always have the best tunes. And they just started calling me DJ Dani, like people in the industry. And I was like, okay. And it stuck. And then I got into a point in my career, because I work in advertising for 20 years. So that's like my main career, where I was at a crossroad and I felt, do I really want to continue doing advertising? Like I feel like my calling could be radio. And I'd met with Tweez from TTRN 96.1, and he saw me out randomly. He said, "You should do radio," you know. And I was like, "Seriously?" He's like, "No, seriously."
And how long ago was that?
This was maybe just before I started radio. So maybe within the 3 months before the lead up to me being on air,
right,
was me randomly happening upon Tweez in a public space and making the suggestion, which I kind of knew was somewhere in the back of my mind, but it really hadn't made its way to my subconscious.
So advertising was your first career
and I kind of did had a little foray into radio before, but my boss quickly shut it down because he's like, you can't have another dream besides working here. And girl, let me tell you, I was able to bring that back up with him recently.
Oh, shucks.
And of course he said he never said that, and it's like, that's something that you never forget that somebody says to you.
Because
you
they
know?
instill that doubt in you when you're trying to figure out if you could do it yourself.
And it remained a doubt for many, many years until somebody else was able to recognize it within me and say, you should do this.
But you know, it's funny because this wasn't something that we had discussed, but I think it's a really good point that, you know, sometimes you're doing something like, funny enough, I don't know how many people know I'm an attorney by profession. So media was absolutely never something that I thought I would do. It was never something that I wanted to do.
Right.
And it just sort of happened. And, you know, I use it as something like sort of a social service where I think that we should be having discussions that are geared towards helping women. And very open discussions, not all these superficial things you see on Instagram and that kind of thing. Like raw, open, honest discussions. And to me, that goes towards, you know, you never doubt yourself. You never know where your life is going to go.
And the thing about it is you don't have to do just one thing.
Yeah.
Like you're an attorney, but you also have this talent in, you know, chatting with people and obviously bringing out and addressing serious topics. And who would have thought that that kind of is parallel to what you know, practice professionally?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of time there are doubters in our lives, right? That think that we need to stay in this box that they've put us in.
And they define you as literally this is all you can ever do.
Correct. So I kind of think that I'm a multi-hyphenate because I pursue what my heart is calling for.
And that's such an important message because, you know, so many times we have like these passions or these things that we want to pursue, but because, you know, there are these very stereotypical career paths that we have chosen, we just sort of like stay in that and we don't, you know, venture out and like realize our passion. Like I don't believe in defining myself. I just kind of take what comes when it comes and just make the best of it.
And life is about seasons, right? Because what you are now, you may not have been 5 years ago. And it's all about becoming who you are meant to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is basically what your journey is.
Well, yeah, girl.
So guys, we were saying that DJ Dani is a radio host and we actually do have some little clips that puts it in a little bit of a context.
Studio, Cass, the band, and of course the man himself, Cass, here to talk about Is We 23. That's DJ Dani, yours truly, Valster, here with you guys. And of course, let's talk about it.
It's that week where all the foreigners are here. They touch down, so you get that full week before Carnival. So you literally starting the energy and the action that week.
Yeah. Valentine's night is going to be a very, very special night. Cass, the band, we're going to do it festival style.
And so definitely will live up to the festival kind of vibes because, as you said, it's cross genres.
Yes.
Yeah. But it all has that kind of magic.
Exactly.
Well, that's good.
So Dani, that was us just giving them a little bit of context, a little behind the scenes.
Okay, nice.
But what has your journey been like as a radio host?
Do I tell you all the real story?
Tell the juicy ones, the juicy ones.
So, my first show, really, it was really happenstance that I ended up running into this program director at a really big radio station, and he said, send me a demo, which I didn't stick, right? I knew I wanted to do it, so I did the demo within maybe the next 2-3 days.
Right.
I submitted my demo, and then I ended up having a call with, you know, Chinese Laundry and Tweez, and we literally had an amazing conversation about music and what I like and just about life. And you know, he said to me something really profound, two things actually during that meeting that I still think about to this day is that, you know, to do media and entertainment, you have to have a personality. People have to want to listen to what you have to say. You can do all the courses in the world and study all the people, but you're just interested in nothing or not interesting, then it might be a little difficult.
It's something inherent, and I think it has to be natural.
Exactly.
I think, honestly, no offense to anyone, but like I think a lot of radio announcers sound very forced.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why, honestly, on a morning, you and Val are the only people I could stand.
I mean, we don't plan our show.
Yeah, but
we don't plan our.
But you'll have that synergy as well,
correct.
and you know, you keep him in check. And I know sometimes he says stuff, and you're like, oh my god, like I can hear it in your voice.
Correct.
But you know, you all have this dynamic, and then you, as you know, as a radio announcer, you add positivity to people's lives, and that is what I love, because I think that a lot of the times the people who have influence, and especially radio announcers in the morning, because so many people listen to radio in the morning.
I think radio could be a little toxic, to be quite honest.
Definitely can.
And I do get the bacchanal and the this people business, and it's like, oh God, that exists in so many other spaces in our life in Trinidad and Tobago, that radio should be something a little more informative, a little more educational, definitely funny.
But positive.
And actually, especially at that time of the morning, like, it's really difficult to start your day with yesterday and negativity and the toxicity from yesterday, right? And I think it's important to have people in a positive space in the morning, you know. Yeah, nothing is all sunshine and rainbows and roses, but at the same time, we don't have to be sucked in to the negativity drama,
and the
right?
bacchanal.
Correct.
Yeah, no drama.
You know? And your mindset is everything, and how you approach
the day.
Life and the day. It's really, really important.
That's so important. So I just want to like thank you. I mean, since we're on that, thank you and Val, because I'm sure Val, you better be watching.
He said he was there.
I just want to thank you all, you know, because you all really do. I mean, Val is funny and he puts you in a mood, but like, you know, both of you all really do inspire and, you know, help people like me who, like, you know, you're stressed out, you're starting the day, you don't know what you're going to face, you know it's going to be stressful, and you just want something light, but you want something that makes you feel like you could start the day and you could face the day no matter what happens. So like, you guys honestly do that for me, and I'm sure loads of other people. So guys, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna delve into the deeper discussion, which is Dani and the journey that she's been on, and let me tell you, it's a message that all of us as women need to hear, but just anybody. So stay tuned when we come back. Hi guys, and we're back, and just before the break we were having a chat with Danielle Parkinson, DJ Dani, who is a radio announcer. She joins Val every morning on 95.1 on the morning reset.
Yes.
And Dani, so as I mentioned, I know that for the last few years, I mean, I sort of think a lot about the things people say, good and bad. So I've been listening to you earnestly, and I've been realizing that, you know what, something is going on with Dani.
Yeah.
Dani is on a journey, and yeah, we're all on a journey, but you're at a particular place in your journey.
Yes.
And I know, I'm so grateful that you're sitting here with us and that you're willing to share that. So tell me about what's been happening with you.
Well, I mean, COVID did a number on, I think, on all of us. And I mean, when I think back, be it COVID was 3 years ago, so much has happened since then, right? And I think it was an opportunity for me to really listen to a lot that my body and my subconscious was telling me. And I had to make the choice to change. And that involved leaving my marriage and subsequently getting divorced.
How long had you been married for by that point?
We split up with my husband in 2020, and I got divorced 2 days after would have been my 11th wedding anniversary. So literally my divorce was the day after. It was crazy.
So at that point you were married for about like 10 years almost?
Yeah, 10 years, but we were together for 18 plus years. So, I mean, since my early 20s, literally. So like
literally your entire adult life.
That's how I describe it.
Wow.
Yes.
That just gave me goosebumps.
Listen, and you know, to me, choosing to change meant having to make a decision, right? And sometimes love is not enough to keep a relationship going. Yeah. Especially when, you know, growth and transformation was calling out to me. And, you know, when my partner says to me, but you've changed. And I said, but you haven't.
But we're supposed to change.
Isn't that the point?
Yeah.
And at that point, we kind of recognized that
y'all weren't on the same page.
We're not aligning anymore.
Wow.
And sometimes it's scary when you come to realization that for you to grow, things have to end. You know, it's uncomfortable, it's
heartbreaking,
scary, it's terrifying, it's guilt-ridden, it's so many different emotions and not many of them pleasant. But yeah, once I made that decision, there was no turning back, right?
What do you think was the point? Like, what was the one last thing that made you make that decision?
Having an argument and realizing that, I've had this argument like 47,000 times. And you are not hearing me.
Yeah.
And I am not hearing you. And maybe if I say I want a divorce, we'll stop. And you might hear that.
Yeah.
And it actually worked. Like the conversation started to go in a different direction. And once I said it, I couldn't unsay it.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Correct. And I mean, let me tell you guys something. When I broke up with I said I wanted a divorce Friday. First thing I did on Monday morning was call and make an appointment with a therapist. Because I said, I am not going to burn down my life and self-destruct.
Yeah.
Because I could have done that. I need to use this moment to really grow and transform and become or start to become who I'm meant to be.
To me, that's such powerful. That's such a powerful experience because, I mean, it might sound cliche, but it's literally like the butterfly, right?
It is.
And it's that you have to go through this excruciatingly painful decision because it's a decision you make. And it's a hard decision to make. I mean, I genuinely cannot imagine how difficult that would have been.
Kandace, and let me tell you, it's a lot of guilt I had to deal with, a lot of shame, people, relationship goals and all this nonsense that social media
Because I knew you and your husband a
right?
little bit in passing.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end, I wouldn't say that, we were pretending because, I mean, we're trying to make it work.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not really pretending as opposed to, well, I'm in this and marriage is supposed to be a life thing. Let's try and see how we could. But at some point, I had to be like, yo.
Yeah, this is not.
You can't, according to my really good friend, you can't put a butterfly in a box.
Yeah. Wow.
And then still think the butterfly is beautiful because it's not going to grow.
Yeah, it's probably just going to die in the box.
Thank you. And that's
and you feel like part of you is dying in the process.
Absolutely. And I'm neglecting so much of me. I'm not pouring into myself. I'm constantly focused on this relationship that is spinning top, and not allowing myself the space that I need to flourish.
And that's so important because, so many times, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a marriage,
a friendship,
anything that no longer serves you. I mean, it's like to me, it's a funny line because, as an attorney, you see all sorts of divorce, first off. And I mean, just as a person, you see so many people around you getting divorced. I mean, I'm a child of divorce. My parents split when I was 11. So I've seen it from the inside and I've seen it from the outside with so many people that I know. And divorce breaks my heart because I'm still sort of an idealist in a way.
Right.
And, I want to believe in the happily ever after.
Well, let me and I'm the same way, but let me tell you, sometimes divorce is the answer.
And I'm a firm believer in that because I know that people stay for many reasons. It's your comfort zone. It's all that you know. Obviously, from a practical perspective, like you don't know if you're going to find somebody else. And obviously, nobody wants to be alone.
Correct.
So, especially if you've been in a marriage or a relationship for a long time, that is just being single and wondering what is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And if you're ever going to end up in a relationship, if you're ever going to find love.
Girl, all of those thoughts by 1,000.
But to me, genuinely, happiness trumps everything.
Peace.
Yeah.
Once you have, and again, coming back to my therapist and therapy, so I chose to start to see a therapist one time. And of course, what I thought I was going to see therapy for is not how it ended up, right? But, I mean, she helped me reframe my marriage as from being a failure to it being a success for me.
Yeah.
Because I was able to choose peace. She was like, do you want to be right or do you want peace?
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't have both.
And the hardest thing is trying to figure out any sort of relationship. When you reach your point, it's like, okay, do I do this? Or do I keep trying? And it's like, can you save this? And
exactly.
I think with social media and with divorce not being as taboo as it once was, like, for example, in my parents' time, it's so easy to throw something away that's good and it just needs work.
Yeah.
And that, because media generally just idealizes everything and makes it look like it's always like going to be sunshines and rainbows. But marriage is hard and relationships are hard. And sometimes you need to figure out, okay,
is it worth fighting for?
Is this worth fighting for?
Well, I mean, each situation is different, but I will say we saw a therapist together.
Right.
So we did a little bit
you
of marriage
worked
counsel.
on it.
We did. And therapist at that session with the couples counseling said, sometimes she'll let us know up front, she's not one of those who are going to tell you have to save your marriage. People wrap up religion and tradition into staying into situations that they shouldn't any longer.
Yeah.
And she said she will make the recommendation. If divorce is the answer, she has no problem putting that on the table.
Yeah.
But a lot of people going into marriage counseling thinking that they can fix the marriage, when sometimes it's unfixable.
It's too far gone.
And, again, it's like sometimes making the decision takes a long time. But then when you make that decision, that's it.
And, I think that's to a large extent a woman thing.
Yeah.
Because I think that men, a lot of the times, only start listening when you've reached that point. But as a woman,
we tell you
to work on it, we cry, we whatever.
Beg, talk to your mother, one.
And then, but like men they just think these things come out of nowhere.
But they also think that they're not deal breakers.
Big deal.
They're not that big a deal. Like, you'll settle down.
Yeah.
You'll go back to how you used to be.
But Dani, what I love is that, you have made the decision to pursue your happiness. And I think that so many women and men, it's not just a woman thing, although women approach marriage and relationships differently. But I think so many women, they stay stuck in a situation, whether it's for the kids. I know they're practical concerns. I'm not disregarding that that's an issue. My personal opinion is that if the kids are in a toxic environment, it's doing more harm to them. And that's how I felt as a child in a situation that had become volatile. Like, yes, it makes me sad that my parents got divorced. They're great friends now, because we're like 20-something years later. But at the same time, like, you don't, as a child, those things give you anxiety. They give you... They show
disrupt your stability and your psychological safety, right?
And they show you that not what is supposed to be happy. They show you that, okay, mommy and daddy always fighting, and that's not something. But I mean, you actually, the saving grace, I think, in this to an extent, is the fact that you made the decision not to have kids.
Long time ago, since I was a child myself, like a teenager. It was no big thing that happened in my life. I am like the first child of my grandparents' first child, somebody's first grandchild, and my sister and I are a year apart. And then all of a sudden, it's like 5 when I'm born in the same year. And we were like teenagers. And I was like, I don't want any of these because
what?
And I was about 13 or 14. And I have not looked back. And I have not regretted not having children.
And that is an important message, because society puts so much pressure on us as women. And they say, you are, as a woman, supposed to have kids. And now, I would like to say our generation, because I have one of my best friends in the world. She's one of like the most phenomenal human beings. And she told me years ago, she's like, Kandace, I don't want kids, And that was one of the first times that a woman had told me that.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize that, it's okay. It's okay for us as women to decide you don't want to be married, you don't want to be in a relationship, you don't need a man to validate you. If you're in a relationship and you want a marriage or relationship, great, But you don't need it, and you don't need kids. Hats off to moms. I literally don't know how they do it. But you don't need kids to validate your existence as a woman.
You don't.
And that's the message we have to send to women.
Absolutely. And I've gotten so many, he'll change your mind. I remember hating I still hate my period, right? But, perimenopause and all that. But that's another topic, right? And saying to my doctor, do I have to do this? Because I don't want children.
Yeah.
And he said, you will change your mind. I am 43 years old now. I have never changed my mind. So sometimes we need professionals to listen to what we say we want.
And you need people to stop forcing you and telling you what you really should and shouldn't do with your life just by social expectations.
Correct.
So guys, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation with DJ Dani right here on Biz TV. Hi guys, so we're back, and we're sitting down this evening on this evening's episode of Everything Woman with DJ Dani, Danielle Parkinson, and we're having a very meaningful discussion. I'm really hoping that you guys didn't miss the first half of it, but this video is going to be, it's on the Biz TV Facebook Live, and at any point you can catch it if you want to watch it from the beginning or you want to see a replay. So feel free to check out the Biz TV Facebook page. So Dani, just before we took a break, we were talking about your journey and how how you were approaching your healing and trying to deal with what was happening with you. I have a question that was sort of on the point that we were on just now, which is, how is it for you, while you have all of this going on, to have to face the world every day, and being a radio personality, you have to be bubbly and you have to be happy, and nobody can know what's going on in your private life.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was difficult. Now I could talk about it. Check me a year and a half, 2 years ago, I'd be in a sobbing hot mess on this couch. And it was really hard in the beginning. I mean, as much as I was the one that ended the marriage, it didn't make it any easier. It was still, grieving somebody that I was with for almost 2 decades. A routine that I had.
The person that you were in that marriage as well.
Exactly. I had to grieve my youth, the decision that I made to get married. I mean, just like I do want children, I never thought I wanted to get married, but yet I fell in love and agreed to. But, I mean, looking back, I really didn't want to get married.
Yeah.
So, I used to cry on the radio studio every morning. I'm crying on the way to radio, and in between talks, I'm talking to Val, and of course he knows all my business. So I'm telling him and crying, and then he's like, "Yeah, 2 minutes, suck it up." But I mean, we have short talks. We kind of at least know what we're going to say, make 2 jokes, and come back. So it's not like I have to talk for a prolonged period. Thank God it's radio, so nobody has to see me.
Yeah,
radio
eyes
face
puffy.
on full 100. But it was difficult. I'm not going to lie. It was very, very difficult. I will cry, but therapy really helped. Journaling.
Are you still in therapy?
As of October, my therapist broke up with me. She said I don't need her anymore. I started to cry immediately. She's like, you ain't crying months. Immediately, tears. But she said, we did literally 13 months of very intense. I was very intentional, and I was very present and active in my healing. I did the work. I am not going to lie, I did the work. As I said, what I thought I went to therapy for is not what I ended up doing therapy for, and I was able to really rediscover myself, rediscover my values, my boundaries, and really what makes me tick, and what brings me peace, and what I needed to do more of, to pour more into myself, because half of me is no good to anybody.
Yeah.
I need to be the fullest, wholest, most healed version of myself to be able to come on radio and start your day inspirationally. And there are people that I meet that say things to me that I, of course, have no recollection of saying, but that they hold on to because they were going through something difficult in their life.
And it resonated with them.
Absolutely. And so I don't take my role on radio very lightly. So even though I was going through all of that, I was like, I had to get up and come to work, and because it helped me stay sane too.
Yeah. Having that routine.
Correct. Helping the routine.
And you're forced to pull yourself together.
And then this is during the pandemic, so it's like, one of the few people I see in, it's Val, So, radio helped me stay sane. It also, helped me along my healing journey, because, as I said, I'm no good to anyone if I am a hot mess.
Of course, but that is so important, because so many times we leave relationships and we try to jump into another relationship and we try to buffer it with just something to distract us, and you don't do the work. Yeah. And to me, like, when you do that, you just compound your issues and you compound your trauma. But the thing about it is,
you don't have to be fully healed, because life goes on,
right?
So while you're healing, you still have to go to work, you still have to interact with people, you still have to show up for the people in your life, because let me tell you, my support system was incredible. My family, my mom, my sisters, my close friends, support helps you not make stupid decisions, right?
And go down like a kind of a dark path that road, you could go down so easily.
I could have, once just drink and smoke and just go crazy, which is not what I wanted to do.
Of course.
I did enough of that, right?
You sure?
Anything, right? But you think about it, is life doesn't stop when you're healing, and you shouldn't feel guilty of still making connections of somebody and still, because you're trying to actively show up in your relationships. For me to heal is so that I won't take out and project all my nonsense on you, whether you're my friend, my partner, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, you understand? So makes me less want to just, vomit all of my nonsense onto people. So I think, and that's what I had to deal with as well too. A lot of, as I said, again, guilt and shame, right? For making the decisions that I made, and guilty for, oh my God, I feel actually happy that I'm not with this person.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I'm happy that I have peace, that I'm not constantly anxious. Oh my God, he's calling me to quarrel or whatever. Like, I'm guilty that I don't have these bad feelings. I'm guilty that I'm happy.
And then you have to realize that
What
you deserve
madness
to
is
be
that?
happy.
Exactly, that is madness. How are you guilty that you happen? So I had to really work through that with my therapist, right? You chose this and you deserve to be happy, right? And the thing about it is, and I think it's really important, we don't give people enough credit for calling it quits.
Yeah, exactly,
Seriously.
because that is one of the hardest decisions that you can make.
Recognizing that something is not in your best emerging future.
Yeah.
And saying, you know what, I love you, but I can't do this, or I love you, I love myself more, to choose myself more.
Yeah.
Because without doing that, you find yourself in the same situation 10 years later, having the same problems, probably even worse.
And you see that, like, to me, I had a sort of a similar experience. It wasn't leaving a marriage, but it was leaving a job. And I absolutely have nothing but love and respect for my boss, former boss, I still call him boss. But like, for me personally, I needed to focus on my own healing because I actually have a back injury from a car accident like 6 years ago. So I live in chronic pain.
Oh no.
So I was I could not focus on my healing with a demanding, which it is, like, you're an attorney, your job is demanding, there's no two ways around it. And I mean, in as much as allowances were made and stuff for me, like, it was something that I literally had to, like, put a pause on my entire life, grieve that decision because I cried so much because I was in that job since I was 22 years old, and literally last year,
marriage.
So it's like your entire adult life, and last year I had to be true to myself and be like, you know what, Kandace, like, you have to put your health first, everything else would fall into place, but like, you need to fix his back. It needs to happen. And it's been a difficult decision to make, but at the end of it, once you handle it in a certain way, you realize it was the best decision that you could have made for your well-being as a person.
Exactly.
And we put off our well-being so much, like, especially as women. I mean, worse yet, I guess, like, if you're a mother and you literally have no choice because there's this little child or this little being or several that are dependent on you to literally show up regardless. And that's actually next week's episode. We're going to be sitting down with two moms that actually, like, they actually have cancer, breast cancer, and they're moms, and they have very different journeys in their cancer diagnosis. So that's actually part of next week's episode where, literally as a mother, you have no choice. You have to absolutely just put everything aside and just be a mother before anything else. Now, Dani, I know part of your journey was you went to Costa Rica for a happiness retreat. Tell me a little bit about that.
Growth Global Happiness Summit. So the University for Peace, the UP.
Look, that's you.
Oh, yeah, that was me graduated.
And that's Costa Rica.
Yeah, listen, there are so much waterfalls. Costa Rica felt like returning to the source of nature.
Really?
It was just so crisp and clean and beautiful, and these big mountains and green. But I went for the Growth Global Happiness Summit that UP puts on. They're the United Nations University for Peace.
Right.
And they have this summit every year, and it was actually the first in-person summit since the pandemic.
Right, yeah.
So I had the privilege as part of my job to go with my team to Costa Rica, and the summit was a weekend, a Friday to Sunday, and I was like, oh my God, I can do something with my weekend other than
guys, so Dani got a certificate from it. Can we just show the clip of the certificate? Yeah.
So this the Happiness Summit was basically about, healing and becoming whole within yourself, so that you are one with your community, the planet, your loved one.
Lots of kumbaya moments.
Well, I mean, we're not just kumbaya. I mean, there's science behind this as well, right?
No, I mean, I'm not knocking kumbaya.
So lots of, So there's definitely like a yoga session, at the end, meditation. There was a session that was really important, the power of putting down your cell phone. So it was like literally social media
detox.
Habits, not even just detox, like like best practices for social media so that you are not constantly overwhelmed and anxious and worried about crime and sucked into this
information
vortex
overload
of negativity and this constant cycle of news and negativity. And so that was really important. There was one session called the non-judgmental mind, which talked a lot about how negative self-talk. She was like, there's about 5,000 or 6,000 thoughts that we have every day, and 90% of them are negative and directed at ourselves.
Oh, wow.
So do you know how it is to overcome all of this? You can't do it. You're too fat. You're too this. You're not enough of this. To still push and try to achieve whatever it is you want to do. So you have to really
re-engineer the way you think.
And that makes you become less judgmental with other people. Yeah. Because the more compassionate you are with yourself, is the more compassionate that you are with others, because you recognize that they are also going through a lot of the similar negative self-talk in addition to whatever trauma of life experiences that they may have had.
And that self-compassion and self-love, I think like once you embark upon that journey, you start seeing people in a different way.
Absolutely.
Because you start recognizing their struggles and you start empathizing on a whole next level.
Correct.
But a lot of the times we put off, like we will feel sorry for somebody else, but we will be so unkind to ourselves.
Exactly.
You know? And like, so if a friend like wants to lose weight, you might be like, oh no, don't worry. But like you look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm fat. And then it's like, so what I had started to do, I mean, not that I think I'm fat per se, but like years ago, what I started to do is I was like, Kandace, you need to talk to yourself the way you talk to your best friend.
Exactly.
And your sister, you know?
Yeah.
So guys, I'm so sorry. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to wrap up this extremely profound episode of Everything Woman with DJ Dani. Stay tuned. Hi guys, so we're back. And just before we took the break, we were having a chat with DJ Dani, who is our guest on this premiere episode of Everything Woman on Biz TV. And we were talking about her struggles with the decision that she had to end her marriage, which was her entire adult life basically, and just finding happiness and her journey towards healing and just becoming whole again. So I'm going to ask Dani, what is next for DJ Dani? I know that you're building your brand and I know that you have so many things planned. So tell us a little bit about what to expect from you.
Okay, so well, this year I celebrate 10 years on radio, and I've done so much in different spheres of media that I've tried to consolidate all of my experience under one hub. So I've created and formed a company called the DJ Dani Network, where I will be using my platforms to basically tell stories. You know, I think I'm a really great storyteller.
You are.
I think we have such amazing stories from our past, in addition to stories of our existence now. I mean, when you think about the people that have built Trinidad and Tobago, you know, our I don't want to say forefathers, but ancestors. That is the word. Oh gosh.
But I mean, I feel like it's the same as forefathers.
But ancestors feel a little more rootsy, right? Yeah. But no, seriously, I mean, I did a cemetery tour, and I know it sounds a little weird, right?
Yeah.
But I am obsessed with cemeteries. Like, if I end up to go to a funeral, I respectfully will pay my respects, but then I'll go
walk around cemetery.
And walk around and check out the tombstones and really want to know about these people. And what are their stories?
Funny enough, I walk around I love cemeteries outside of Trinidad. Like, I have no problem with walking through, like, a place with
Trinidad a little grimy.
But, like, yeah. And I feel like you get robbed.
No, but I went to La Perouse. I did a La Perouse cemetery tour with the National Trust. So there's a tour guide.
What?
Listen to me, about 20 of us show up a Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, hot sun. But it was so good. And I mean, you learn about people that La Perouse Cemetery is older than Port of Spain, being the capital of Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, wow.
Jean-Michel Casabon is buried there. Jean Miles is buried there. You know, it's like the first road traffic accident victim. You know, the doctor who treated cholera in Trinidad and Tobago when a quarter of our population died in 2 months. Like, these stories are fascinating. So I want to tell stories of our ancestors in, like, digestible, not too macabre formats. But I'm also working on season 1 of Party Lighthouse, which is a full-length storytelling series about...
Let me pause you there for 1 second.
Yeah.
Let's just show the viewers so that they have a
better,
little context.
That'll be better, yeah.
With us, sweetie auntie, finding magic in you and me.
There are many humorous perceptions about people living in various parts of Trinidad and Tobago, with one of the most popular local stereotypes that tongue people, like myself, find it a tremendous task and more than a mild inconvenience to venture anywhere past the lighthouse.
Yeah, so that was the intro to Past the Lighthouse.
Right.
And tell me a little bit about that intro.
Okay, so first time producing a show where I am the talent, because I'm usually
Behind the
behind the
scenes.
camera, scripting and coordinating and working with the talent, right? So it was interesting because I'm like, okay, no, I said that wrong. Do that over. So I'm directing myself.
Like a million takes on the promenade, right?
Girl. But it was really fun. I was able to try my hand at songwriting. So I wrote the theme song.
Wow. And it's real vibes,
yeah,
like
right?
it really is.
But it was inspired by Nyla because I shot the pilot with Nyla. We shot this pre-pandemic, and we were actually able to get it on air Republic Day last year, 2022.
Oh, wow.
So Nyla's in my first episode. We went to Lafayette, where she grew up.
I watched it. And
Yeah, you
I'll
did?
tell you, I watched the entire thing. And honestly, I loved it. And I don't really follow like local celebrities and stuff, but I actually got an appreciation for Nyla as well.
Correct.
And I was like, oh wow, she's like really cool.
Right? And the thing about it is, so the premise of this show is that I want to go to various locations across Trinidad and Tobago, but I want somebody that's iconic and notable from the area to be my tour guide, one of my tour guides. And then, of course, I want somebody that lives there, that still lives there, to actually give me the nowadays, what the area is like. So, but that way they kind of give us a sneak peek of where they came from. Somebody could reach, and I mean, not just artists, musicians, sports people, politicians, artists, the full works. And, for the younger people to see that you can come from humble beginnings and still reach the Olympic stage.
Yeah.
You could come from humble beginnings or crime-ridden hotspot and still become a lawyer. It's people need to see representation
Of course.
of who they are and where they come from. And I think
And to help like break that negative voice that says that you will never amount
you
to
can't
anything.
do it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and when you see people that have done it, and wait, he from where I from, or she's from where I
And
from?
he looked just like me, and he
Correct.
has my similar struggles.
Correct.
Because if you see somebody, I mean, the fact is you don't know what struggles anybody would have gone through, right?
Exactly.
And like even like me, like people are like, oh yeah, she had a perfect life, and saying far from perfect, but whatever, right? Over it. But the point is that people judge you because
Absolutely.
they look at you and they're like, oh, she's done this or he's done this, and therefore his life is perfect.
Yeah.
But it's like you really don't understand what a lot of people go through to reach the point that they do.
Exactly, and what they had to overcome, right?
Yeah.
And what is interesting as well to me is that I feel like Trinidad is so beautiful, and I feel like our news cycle is dominated by negativity, right? So I want people to take pride in Trinidad and Tobago again. I want people to be like, oh, good, that there, what? How I never know about that? And I want people to really rediscover and fall in love with TNT again.
I feel like for me, my difficulty with falling in love with Trinidad and Tobago again is, one, the roads are really bad.
Yeah,
so
but you don't
if
go
I'm gonna
anywhere,
go,
just watch my show. Stay
exactly,
home,
yeah. 'Cause
watch my show.
save gas.
And and you'll be okay. You get to experience, because I mean, that's a lot of what a lot of us did during the pandemic.
But I wanted some of them them dumplings though. It was dumpling curry, right?
Curry, coconut dumplings.
God.
That he made. And Alistair is actually a fire officer.
Okay.
But they have a village council in Lafayette, so he is the president of the village council, so he was able to show me the little secret spots.
Yeah. The little hideaways that only the locals know.
Correct. So that's why I want it to be not just this, high level, celebrity returning to the area, but also the real deal and, what I could experience if I, a regular person,
the real
decide to go.
grassroots.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
it have no cooking, like village cooking,
Thank you.
Jeez, once
Listen,
I was in
I had
Toko.
the best, because I shot on different days with Nyla and with Alistair, and it was, completely different experiences, but both really enjoyable. And it was amazing that they were both kind of able to show me a lot of the same spots.
Right.
Because
so they were like local favorites.
Correct. So I I really enjoyed the pilot. So right now I'm working on finishing my season, which is 13 episodes. So I'm sending out proposals for sponsors and, you know, corporate partners.
Well, I mean, you know, Omega XL is like, you know, that's our sponsor. So
yeah.
So, you know, you might get a little blighted.
I'm pretty excited about that. And then I'm actually working on a full-length documentary as well about my family, which are the Chardiers and, you know, Scotland Bay, and my grandfather was born there, and then we had to leave because of World War II and U.S. Army, and girl, I worked on my story arc. I'm liaising with Animator. It's going to be huge. I'm really going to try and position this for an international streaming service because I want it to be a full-length, movie-length documentary, which I plan to enter into some film festivals.
Oh, wow.
So I'm in kind of pre-production, you know, trying to select the right partners to bring this vision to life.
That sounds so exciting.
But
though.
I am dreaming big. I am dreaming big. I am dreaming big.
And there's no other way to dream, though.
Correct.
So is there going to be a Past the Lighthouse episode on La Perouse Cemetery?
Well, I want to do a series on La Perouse Cemetery,
wow.
actually. So like shorts, like 2-3 minute shorts on the different residents of La Perouse Cemetery, because, you know, they've been there some hundreds of years.
Oh, you mean those residents? Because
Those
I
residents.
think like there's some alive...
Well, I mean, not the home dweller residents,
Right,
street
okay.
dweller residents, but I mean, you know, they could always add a little character to... Because I'll tell you, there was a story that I heard during the tour of a guy who thought he was a cholera victim, and they used to bury them in this mass grave along Colville Street. That whole length of La Perouse, that is one. Thousands of people are buried there without markers because it's a pandemic, right? There's this guy that used to take on his carts and empty the carts there, and one guy...
It's like what you see in the movies, basically.
Yeah, and I guess the cart man see a leg moving, and the guy was alive. And they rescued him.
But I mean, he really was badly off with cholera, though, because he's
but
like surrounded by
Come
dead
on,
people.
He survived. I mean, he survived. He had a full recovery.
Okay, wow.
Right? He turned out to be a caretaker for the cemetery and raising goats and thing in there. So, I mean, a lot of the people...
So he was a caretaker after the whole cholera
after he
thing?
recovered from cholera.
Okay.
I mean, during that time, right? I mean...
Right.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if he was a caretaker before and he just
No,
or something.
He I guess maybe he had an affinity, or maybe I don't know what the motivation was.
Well, I mean, he
maybe
spent
because
like some time with some dead people.
He literally got a second lease of life at
Yeah.
La Perouse, that he said, I'm going to spend time. And he had goats, and the goats used to come and eat the grass on the grave, and and he remained there until he died. Obviously, not of cholera. So
How long ago did he die?
the cholera was like in the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
So
Right, yeah. Long time.
200 something, long time ago.
So Dani, tell me and tell our viewers something about you that nobody knows or that very few people know.
And nobody knows. I mean, I'm very blind, but I'm sure people know that, you know. I'm very clumsy. I am like probably the most clumsy person you'd know. I've broken bones from being clumsy.
Oh my God.
Something that nobody knows. I actually like to get up early in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So on weekends I still do. I kind of like that time right before the sun comes
Quiet.
up. And not just the quiet. It's not even that quiet to me because you hear all the birds, but it's like that cusp between dark and light. And you don't really need to put on any lights in the house, and it's just kind of...
It's just
okay,
nice.
what does this day hold in store?
What do you think you would attribute your success as a woman and as, you know, a radio host to?
I think I'm authentically myself. I don't pretend to be anybody else, so it's easy for me to not have to remember to perform.
To be right? Just be yourself.
I feel like I'm interested in these things and I want to share them with you all.
Yeah.
You know, and you all think it's interesting too, thank God, otherwise you'd be like talking to myself. Right? So I think my authenticity resonates with people, and I'm able to relate and engage. And I'm kind of funny sometimes. So
you are very funny. I mean, I think like when you're next to Val, your humor seems a little bit different.
Well, of course, because I have to deal with, you know,
Val
guy
is like on a whole next
guy
level.
humor. Yeah.
But, you know, I'm so happy that we sat down and we did this today, because I feel like there's so much that women, and even men, because we have a lot of men that watch our show, could take away from this. And I just want to tell you thank you so much.
I have stood down a little bit, you know, I'm a little giant, right?
I just loved the fact that you were here and we were able to do this and we were able to, like, you know, just sit down and have this time to talk openly about these things. Guys, so next week we are going to be joined, it's actually a phenomenal show if I do say so myself. We're going to be joined by two fantastic ladies. I know Sunday is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all our mummies out there. But, you know, these two ladies, it's Sasha and Judy, and they are actually both survivors of breast cancer. They're going through the process right now, all the while that they have to continue to be mommies. So I think that, you know, what they have to say in terms of life with breast cancer, dealing with the diagnosis, making certain decisions, and trying to still be a mother and put that aspect of their life first. I really do feel like that is phenomenal, and I really, really do look forward to that show. So guys, we are gonna say goodnight, and this is the end of our premiere episode of Everything Woman. I'm so glad that DJ Dani kicked this off because I feel really positive about it. And before we go, I just want to say thank you to all our viewers. I know that we had a lot of people who were reaching out to me and who were asking what's going on with this show because they really did see the value in it. And as you can see, we are new and improved, and we have a phenomenal team. So I really do want to say a heartfelt thank you to everyone behind the scenes who have made this happen, who worked tirelessly to make sure that today happened. And I really can't thank you enough, but suffice to say, you guys are phenomenal, and I look forward to continuing to do this with you guys. So everyone, have a really safe night, and I will see you next week, Wednesday, right here on Biz TV.